everyone. Welcome to my universe. Guess what? I still think there's some stuff in her face that feels a little bit off. I still think her eyes feel a little bit too big. Such is the way things are. But you know what? I think even with fixing all that, I'll still be able to actually get into clothes today. I'm really hoping so. Hello there, what should I call you? Is Deafness okay? So, hello. But yes, I'm gonna go fix some facial proportions. Fortunately. Okay, cool. Fortunately, I think that I have a little bit of space I can put in here. Like, I don't think her forehead is super short right now, but I think if it ends up being a little bit longer, it'll still look okay. But yeah, I just feel like right now where the eyes currently are is roughly where I would normally do my proportions, but because she has a nose and lips, they end up feeling a little bit big. So this is just a, you know, a side effect of weird stylistic nonsense that just makes things look weird sometimes. It happens. As someone that has drawn and likes to experiment with stylization, I'm kind of used to it. Because, you know, they do require a little bit of tweaking, just depending on what you're going for. But I think I can salvage most of what I did here. So what I'm gonna do... Let's make her bald for just a second, it's fine, don't worry about it. I'm gonna take both here, and I'm just gonna try to lower the upper lids just a little bit. Just a little bit. And since I intend to mirror this, I actually do kind of want to clean up the side eyelashes just a little, especially over here, but that won't be too bad. A lot of that will end up covered by hair, and I think it'll be fine. I don't know if I have to deal with the irises just yet. I might. But I'm gonna hold off until until she's less bald, and see how all that works out. Because I did want her eyes to be a little bit narrowed, so, you know, just a kind of little bit of a narrowing there, but not exactly a whole lot. So I want to see how it looks with her eyebrows and eyelids in proper places. Do I even have the eyelids defined on the other side? I don't think I do. I've got a little bit here. Okay, I'll go move them down with the little bit of eyeshadow I got on this side. It's gotta be dark on the other side, so I don't mind if I have to just redo it entirely. Out on the dress side. Okay. So for that, just a little bit of liquify to pull it down. That's perfect. Now just kind of shaping it into place here. Because I have learned from looking at things more closely that eyelids are not exactly very round, like my brain seemed to think they were. Because brains are liars and they will do that often. So you just gotta combat that with conscious observation. And they're actually more triangular. I think I can get away with making it a little bit bigger in this case, since, like I said, her eyes are supposed to be a little bit narrowed. That does show a little bit more eyelid. And I'll just push it around until I'm happy. When will I be happy? Who knows? But I'll know it when I see it. That tends to be how it goes. I think somewhere around here is looking pretty alright. I just want to kind of lift this side just a little. Okay. Then I can do the same over here and actually get this part of her eyelid matching up. You can see her eyes used to be much higher when I initially drew this. But I moved things around a lot. I actually kind of don't mind her eyebrows where they are, so I don't think I have to move them. That's pretty cool. And we'll see if her eyes still feel big, or if I will continue to adjust them for the next 3 months. Who knows? Oh, either way. Alright. Okay, let's bring this down, bring this over. I kind of want it to be a similar shape. Just give myself an easier time when it comes time to mirror this to the other side. I'll leave it around there. I think that's fine. So, you know, if I wasn't planning on mirroring things horizontally, and if her hair wasn't this asymmetrical, I would not have bothered doing any of that, but, you know, it is, and I do plan on mirroring things, so I figured it was worth spending a little bit of extra time getting that right there. Okay, let me do a before and after here. So probably about here. Oh, here. Okay. So that's before. After. It's definitely better. I still feel like the eyes are a little bit big. Can I... Thinking about what my eyes do. I'm gonna try moving the lower lids up just a touch too. Because that's another way I can close them just a little bit more. Gonna do both at the same time again. Just so I move them the same amount. Just a little bit here. I don't want to do too much. Okay, yeah, that's helping. I will have to touch it up, but I just want to get things in place before I do that. There. There. She looks very amused. I approve. Okay, I think I want them all to just be a little bit lower. Just a touch. That does mean I'll have to mess with the eyelid again, but that's fine. Very amused, perhaps vaguely drunk. Not sure how I feel about the vaguely drunk part, but you know, that's alright. That's something I can mess with. Okay. So with this, I think I'm gonna make the corner of her eyelashes a bit sharper. Okay, and I don't quite like how this is overlapping, so I'm gonna move this up just a little bit. Just so that her hair is firmly next to the eye white there. Okay, yeah, that's a bit better. And actually, I'm gonna undo that. Right idea, but then I realized that I actually want this entire eye to be just a little bit lower. So I should do that first. And if I'm still unsatisfied, then I can change that. Or do I want it a little bit higher? So I'm trying to pay attention to the angle that the nose is sitting at here and trying to make the eyes sit on the same angle. It's also in the hair up here. The angles across the face should all be the same because, you know, that they are on the face and they are parallel to each other. So if it's a bit off somewhere, that's a sign I gotta fix that. Okay, that seems a little bit better. Gotta flip this just to make sure. Okay, I should not liquefy the iris there, so I'm just gonna select the two layers here and hope for the best. Oh. Now that, I want the whole thing. Something about the spacing between the eyes didn't feel quite right, so fixing that too. And yeah, I think that looks a bit better. Her eyes feel a little bit lazy, though. Let me fix the eyelid first, and then I'll worry about the irises. Unfortunately, when it comes to facial features, the human brain is very, very picky. So, sometimes it can take a sec to get it all right. But human brains are very strongly attuned to faces. So even if they're a little bit off, the brain will complain. It's very rude like that. So, I do like to take a little bit of extra time to get that right. I think working on the face is never really wasted. Okay, I'm gonna actually raise a part of this, so this way it looks like it's going up with her eyebrows. Her eyebrows are reasonably relaxed, though, so... I can do it sparingly. Okay. Now I can take a look at those irises. Let's get you looking the right way. I like where this one is. I think this one's okay. But this one looks a little bit lazy now. Maybe a little bit big as well. That might actually be most of the problem there. I do want her to look a little casual, of course, but... Okay, yeah, I think that helped a lot, actually. Although, I don't know, the gaze still feels a little bit off. I think it might be just the pupil. If I scooch that over, will it be a little bit better? I will have to adjust the iris itself just a little here. Move the shadow around, because I have a particular way of shading this. Let me make sure I get all that in. Get rid of all my reflections and stuff for just a second here. Just so I can get those shadows in the right spots. And then I can put the reflections back on. It's fine. And this part is already pretty soft, so I'm not really worried about having to re-render things. I think it'll be fine. Move the light over just... Oh, only on this side, though. But yes, move the light over just a little. Have it follow that pupil a little bit better. Reflection, I think, is fine, and the speculars I still think are fine. Yeah, there we go. The pupil was just in the wrong place. Now she's back to looking at us. And vaguely laughing. I don't know. She still looks a little bit drunk, and I'm not sure if I like that. I'm not immediately sure how to fix that, though. Is it just an eyelid thing? Maybe I mess with her eyebrow a little bit. I like the size, but like I said, something about the way she's looking does make her look slightly drunk. As opposed to vaguely sinister. I'm not quite sure how to fix it just yet, though, so I'm gonna go do something else for a little bit, and I'll revisit that. That's important enough that I'm definitely gonna want to fix that, though. I will... You know what? Actually, I'm gonna do that first. I'm gonna go look up a reference image of someone narrowing their eyes a little bit. Slightly narrowed eyes. Oh ho. Okay, so looking at this, I wonder if part of the blame lies in the eyelashes. Let's see. So, the big thing that I am observing when I go look at reference images is that the corner eyelashes are pointing upward, not downward like I expected. First off, I think this eye needs to come over this way just a little bit more, but that's something else entirely. Let's go ahead and clean up the other lash here. And then I notice that as you get into the corner, they actually start going upward. We're not going to see very many, though. But at the very least, it means I can add a little bit of eyelash fluff out the side here. And that'll make me happy. I like really, really fluffy eyelashes. They make me happy. Helps a little. Not completely. Where do the eyelids themselves go? They actually really don't get that much bigger, do they? Yeah, because the brow bone, it looks like, kind of goes down with it, and thus... yeah, I think that might actually get a little smaller. Fascinating. It's okay, this is why photo reference is useful. It can tell you many things, and it's telling me things I would not have otherwise noticed. Oh yeah, I don't think they actually get bigger. Let's try it. It's like her eyebrows are also going up a little bit, so... I don't think that I have to completely squish them. Well, let's see if that makes her look a little bit less drunk. Maybe, and I also realized I messed up her eyebrows when I was moving things around, which is unfortunate, but easy enough to fix. There we go. Yeah, that was it. Okay, cool. I think she's looking much better now, and I like what I did with the eyebrows, so I'm gonna go ahead and keep that. Okay, but now back into what I planned to be doing today, and that's this big old braid going down here. So I'm gonna start there, and, you know, then we can finally get into the clothes. Finally! I've been really looking forward to experimenting with them, because I really like the way this artist handles a lot of clothing stuff. So, I think that'll be a lot of fun to analyze and steal from. But first, I want to get this braid finished, just so I don't have to think about which part of the clothes matters a lot, and all that good stuff. I'm also realizing that I'm not quite sure if I quite like how this is sitting on the shoulder just yet. But that's okay, that's what today is for. Today is specifically for perfecting that. Okay. So I'm gonna make some minor adjustments here. Gotta kind of push this over a little bit. And then when it comes to the lower part here, I want to make it look like it's being pushed by the hand a little bit more. I don't know, do I? Because that's a good shape, and then I just kind of want it to flip around. No, I think this is actually fine. Okay, well I'm gonna leave it like that. Okay. Well, in that case, let's hide that flower. And I'll just get into actually properly setting down where the big shadows and highlights are going to be, and for that I want to make sure that I can pick colors properly. So I'm gonna hide a bunch of my experimental hair layers here, because there's lots of gradations and stuff there. And that would very much get in the way of me being able to pick accurate colors. So I will turn all these on later. But for now, I just want to make sure I can get accurate colors. And yeah, now there's no soft edges. Okay. Let's see, first things first. Is this my darkest color for white? Yes, it is. Okay, so I did well there. And then my basic shadow color is it just you? Because I think this is probably going to be, oh no. Alright, it is just you. Fantastic. Okay, so I have kind of the basics of the braid down already. So now it's just a matter of making it look a little bit more braid-like. I've got the puffy parts coming out already, and that's a good first step. I tend to do braids in phases. I find it to be the easiest way. So let's see, which areas should still have dark shadows? We should have some underneath the head here. The light is mostly coming from the back. I'm trying to honor the light source a little more closely than I normally would when just painting normally. So I'm not gonna make this shadow quite as strong as I normally would. Maybe it sounds weird to put it like that, but when I'm drawing normally, I only do like the most basic lighting until the very end, and then I have these layers. I actually have them here too, where I put on some extra shadows and lights at the end, and that tends to be where I handle like the real light source. And everything up until then is ambient or more accurately stuff to make it possible for me to draw. Okay. But I'm trying to honor it a little bit more closely than I normally would for this one. For reasons. Okay. So under normal circumstances, I think most of the hair on her body would basically be all shadowed. Maybe not with the super deep shadows that I'm doing here, but with this one. So yeah, I think I'm gonna do that actually. I was debating whether or not I wanted to, but no, let's do it. Do I really use that few layers of shadow? Looks like I do. Yeah, that sounds like me. That's okay. I think it'll be fine. Okay. So I'll get kind of the mid guy on here. And most of the hair here is gonna use this one. With some deeper pockets as it kinda blends in with the rest. Okay. I'll just do that all the way down. I'm just gonna focus on the white parts for now. I'll worry about the black parts once I have a better idea of how I'm gonna be doing the rest. And it's all going to be pretty loose and messy for a while. But oh man, am I excited, because this is the last bit of hair forever on this side, I think. Like, I'm gonna have to do the hair again once I go and do the dress side. But at least here, she has no other hair. There is no back hair for me to have to deal with later. I will be free. That's always an exciting time. Always. I'm kind of glad Katya does not have very much hair. Relative to what you'd expect from an anime girl, at least. Okay, so we'll get something like this, and then I'll start plopping down the darker spots. And I just like to gradually build things up this way. Okay, so now the light spots. So I know that this one is going to be very bright. I think I'll just do it like that. Kind of the same over here. And I'll just plop in where I think some of this extra light is going to come in. I don't think there's going to be any of that down here, so that'll do. Alright, then from there, do I do the black now? I think I do. I might add a few strandy parts here and there just to make it look nice, but no, that'll be for the end. Okay, so first, the darkest shadow. So we'll get some of that kind of running through here. This is why I wanted to do it at the end, because it would be affecting a lot of things. I think most of through here is going to be in shadow. So I'll just do that. Normally this would run this way, but I think it's going to be a little bit less so here since there's light right there. Okay, and I just follow the same pattern all the way down. Oh yeah, and I also want to be using that slightly darker color as the basic mid-tone for most of this. That'll be lighter, so I'll do that all the way down as well. And then at the end, I will be adding just little black spots here and there. Because while the big clumps are like that, there will be some mixing in between. Just because I think it'll look good. You need a reason besides I think it'll look good. I don't think so. At least not when it comes to stylized stuff. Maybe if you're going for something super realistic, you need more of a reason than because it looks good. But I most certainly am not, so I get to live by the power of the rule of cool, and it is fantastic. I like it a lot. Just realized I forgot to put in the side shadows here. Those are important too. Okay, and then when I clean this up, I'll try a little bit harder to make it look like they're all being woven together. And I'm not going to worry about the strands coming out the bottom yet. That'll be for future me. Don't worry, she can handle it. She's got this. Okay. And then I want this to be a fairly neat braid, so there's not going to be very many loose strands coming out. There's going to be a few, but there are going to be few and far between, and I will add them at the end. So I think this is ready for cleaning now. And I will add, or wait, no, I need to do a couple of highlights here. But I will do the main bulk of the highlights at the very end. So, you know, these shiny little parts here. Those will be at the end. Okay, and I think those are all the highlights needed for now. But there we go. I think it's ready for me to just jump in and clean it up fully. So I think most of the edges I clearly defined last time, but just due to the nature of braids being what they are, I am going to have to change the shape quite a lot as I go. That's normal for me, though. That's all good. Because I never get the shapes quite right the first time. I do need to do that initial rendering where I kind of at least loosely define where things are going to go. but I always end up having to mess with it a bit more at the end. Okay, I'm gonna skip the very top one, go down to the next one. That one's a little bit easier to understand where it's all gonna go. I'll worry about the highlight there in just a little bit. Let me actually get all of these overlapping the way that I want them to. And I'll figure out how I want to make it all soft later. Because I do intend for it to look about as soft as I did on the upper hair here. But I just kind of want to get the basics in first. Okay. And then eventually they'll look like they're all woven together. And it'll be nice. Okay, so I kind of have to... This hair is at a slight angle, so I have to decide which one is in front and which one is on back. And I've decided that the side closer to us here is going to be on front. So that'll mean that when it comes to the parts that overlap a little bit, like here, so this guy overlaps this guy slightly, that this guy will keep his shape and this guy will get like bent up a little. So you can see it's nice and round here, whereas here it has a little bit of a weird shape through there. So that'll show that this guy is in front. Alright. So I'm just gonna go from there. And it always takes a little while to get through it because braids are complicated. Very. But it's alright. I'll just kind of take my time and go through. Yeah, I like that highlight there. I'm not going to worry about it for the time being. Let's see, I do think you are on top of you back there. So I'm going to shade it a little bit more like this. We'll let this guy kind of merge in there. I might need a slightly darker shadow. We'll see if I do or not. Yeah. Okay, I like where things are going. So, I just gotta draw it all. And considering how long this braid is, that's gonna take a second. That's okay, I'll keep just deciding where each spot should go. And like I said, I never quite get it right the first time, so I am thinking pretty hard about how each of these little pleats are folding into each other. And I want to keep the gaps between them pretty thin as I get over here, but so when it's between two that are right next to each other, but a little bit thicker when they're a little further apart. I might even get another shadow color to make some of these a little bit darker. So for the way I normally shade, what I'm doing is fine. It's what I normally do. But I'm not quite sure if it suits what I'm doing with everything else yet. I haven't yet decided. It might demand another color. That's one of the things I'm thinking about. Because when I'm normally shading things, I use very few colors. It's normal for me. And I don't really mind it when the shadows kind of merge together. But here, I am worried that the shadow that I'm using on the lower part here is merging together with the shadow between pleats. And like I said, most of the time, I'm totally cool with that, but I'm just not quite sure if I am here. Ooh, I do have a slightly darker one here. Maybe I should try it. Oh, that's way too small of a difference. That's actually probably just me picking the wrong color. So yeah, this is the darkest one I currently have. I'd have to pick an entirely new color. Let's see what it looks like. So if I were to do it like that, what I would do is where they kind of come together would just get a little bit darker. Too soon to tell. I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there just so I have the color, but it's way too soon to tell if that's even useful. So I'm just gonna keep going, and I will save that for science at the end. That said, I'm honestly considering taking a break from hair shenanigans to go work on the clothes a little bit, because I feel like working on the clothes. I'll go a little further with the hair first. I'll be good. Do a little bit of that first. Okay. Just make sure that all of these parts are cleaned up a little bit more. At that point, I should be satisfied with the shapes. And I can go from there. And it'll be so much easier once I can lock the braid layer and just not have to worry about things anymore. Always is. But I never quite know where to really push them together until I really refine all the things. So that's the main purpose of this step. That's why things aren't necessarily, like, super hyper clean yet. Nothing's necessarily very smooth. And why, especially braids specifically, I just always find that my process on them is very cyclical. I make one change and then I send it down the entire chain. And then only after that do I really start perfecting all the details. Structure, always more important than details. Always. Your drawings will be so much more convincing once you do the big things and then the small things. It'll be great. The main way I'm deciding where the pinching happens is... how to describe. Well, as I keep going down, I'm putting in various shadows here, and I know roughly what they mean in my head. So I can kind of feel this part pushing this part to the side, and this part pushing this part lower. So it tells me that there needs to be a little bit of a gap here where they're tied together. And here, the gap should be a little bit lower. That'll make it look a little bit better. And it's just a matter of going down the whole thing. So this one is on top of the one below, so I will put that kind of shape on there. Let it look like this one is overlapping that one. And like I said, you know, just a matter of pushing that down the entire chain. The entire chain. Kind of nice. I think the last time I drew braids was when I was drawing Leia Memoria, and she has 2 braids that are much longer, so it took even longer. I do really feel like as anime hair goes, Katya's got it pretty simple. She just has that weird flower bun thing, but even that I feel like is relatively simple compared to what I've seen in many an anime girl. Okay, so on here, I want to make sure that this one looks like it's on top. So I'm rounding out that edge and making this one a little more of a weird shape. And this one should be on top of this guy here. So it needs to go all the way down and around. And then we get a shape like this. And this tells me that its starting point should be just a little bit lower. And maybe it should puff out just a little bit more. Just right over there. And there we go. Oh, something like that. Okay, so this one will be on top. So its thing will be kind of wrapping around like this. This one is on top of this one. So this one's on top of this one, but this one's on top of this one. And that guiding force will help me keep all of them reasonably accurate. Close enough, at least. Alright. Alright, I'm getting there. I can see that I'm almost down to her arm. And the arm is where the end is. And like I said, I'm not handling the strands at the end yet. I just want to do the braid right now. Considering she has a hair clip on, I can basically treat the strands as a separate entity and not worry about it. Let me focus on one thing at a time. Make it a little bit easier. Alright. Yeah, I think the shapes are turning out pretty alright here. So let's see, this one is going to be underneath that other one. And you... With the way this point is right here, I feel like it's pointing this way. And that's not where I want it to be pointing. I want it to be pointing this way. So I need to adjust the shape of that a little bit here. Just to make sure it's going in the right direction. Otherwise, it will not line up with the rest of the braid, and that would just be unfortunate. Alright, and I see the hair clip at the bottom here. I'm about done with the first pass here, and you know what? After this one, I do think I will take a little break to go work on clothes, because that's what I feel like working on today. I don't feel like doing a braid. Sometimes I might force myself to just go through and do it anyway, but you know what? I'm gonna let my brain follow its whimsy today, and I'm gonna go do a little bit of work on clothes. So the way I think I'm gonna handle all of the clothes, just while I finish up this part here, is I'm going to do a basic pass over everything. Just all of it. And after that, I'll figure out how to soften them all together. And get a nice, soft style going. Kinda looking forward to that. So the first step is just going to be everything I normally do. Use hard brush for everything, etc., etc. And after that, I'll make some new layers for much science. And I can try out new things. And that's always an exciting time for me, so looking forward to it. But I mean, I think what I have is already looking pretty okay, so I'm sure that once I have it all a little bit smoother, more well put together, that I'll be able to do much experimentation. I really am looking forward to it. This drawing has been really interesting for me because, well, it's just been trying something new. I do like trying new things. That's why I have 50 million styles. It's fantastic. I like it a lot. And each time I try something and like it, I just get something new under my belt, and I can dredge that knowledge up whenever I feel like I need it. Okay. I do think I might use some of the things that I learned here a little bit more often than some of the other experiments that I've done. Just because I think that this will let me do some neat things. There's some stuff that just looks a little bit softer than just raw, I don't know, hard brush only forever. As much as I do, kind of like hard brush only forever. So this is why choices are hard. Okay. There we go, there's the bottom. I'm just gonna clean that up just a little. Still not gonna worry about the strands, but I do feel like there should be a little bump here for where the braid goes into the clip. I think there's just one more little half pleat thing there, but there we go. Okay, so I think that's good for the initial pass, and like I said, I just kind of want to do some clothes, so I'm going to. So let's see, the first thing. I think before I do anything, I need to get this, and I had a plan for that. So no, I'm not going to remove the layer, but I will reduce its opacity for now. It'll be removed in a little bit, and I'm going to copy and paste the hair tie here, and I'm going to adjust it so it is sitting on her cape. So first, let's, you know what? Let's do it like this. Okay. Needs to be bigger. Much bigger. Okay, and I'm gonna try to center it a little. I'm gonna make it wider, so this way it looks like it's facing a little bit more forward instead of to the side. And I think in order to perfect that illusion there, need to push this over just a little and make this part just a little bit longer. There we go. So something like that, and I think that's about how I want to have that. This is why when I was drawing the hair clip, I spent a lot of time getting it really nice looking, because I knew I would be copy and pasting it everywhere. Oh, you need to be renamed. Brooch. Okay. So that is the rough bit. How blurry do you look? Not that bad, actually. I do need to reshade it, though, since the light on this one... Oh, do I? No, the light's coming from the same place, but I mirrored it horizontally. That's why it got wonky. Okay. And I do think that this one catches a bit more light than the other one. I'll go ahead and fill in some of these gaps that existed there. Just... can I... You know what? I don't think I want to completely clear this now that I think about it, because I was like, oh yeah, we'll just do it and redo it. And then I looked at the rows and I'm like, oh god, I don't know where the petals are now. So, let's not do it like that, and... I guess I'm just gonna have to feel it out step by step. How annoying. Oh, it's still easier than the alternative, so here we go. I'm just gonna brush in where I think the lights go. What is that? Oh, I see. Okay. Alright, let's get rid of the necktie for now. I just want to get rid of everything white in the area so I know exactly where I'm putting these highlights. Oh, I had the wrong color. No wonder. Okay. I was like, wait, weren't you highlighting? It was highlighting. It was highlighting with the shadow color. Oh, very silly. Okay, and instead of the shadow color, let's grab the base color here. That's like the worst place to get the base color, so... Okay. And that'll let me handle the other side of the parts that are not catching the light quite as strongly here. There's something gold under there. I need to get rid of it. What are you? Probably something on the trim layer, maybe not. No, seriously, what are you? Ah, part of the lapel. Okay, that makes sense. No, I can't have anything gold or anything white there. It'll cloud my vision, and that's just no good right now. Gotta be able to see clearly to do what I gotta do here. Okay. Hello there, cheese dog. Welcome. Okay, let's see. You are gonna have a light spot here, but then a dark spot, so I'll leave that there. Right now, I'm mostly just roughing it in. It'll get smooth later. But I need to know where all these little petals are before I can really do anything else. Okay, I think there's gonna be a light right there. I don't think any of these are gonna be shiny, so I won't use any of the shiny lights. I don't think anything here is going to be either, so I'm gonna get rid of the shiny lights I currently have. Yeah, I think that's probably good for the shiny lights. So, with that, I will take my next shadow color. Do I have a better spot to get it than on this? Because right there is so small. I do. Fantastic. Alright. Let's see. Okay, so this one I think is going to be a little bit well lit. There's going to be very dark shadows in a lot of this. So let's see, there's going to be a light here. I think most of this one is going to be lit. And the dark shadow will be very small, but it will exist. Okay, dark shadow over here, or, well, a mid shadow, I guess. Yeah, and then some of these will catch a little bit of light, but not as much as like up here. So I will draw them accordingly. This won't really be getting any. Her neck is in the way. The light is behind us. And I think over here won't really be catching any either. So I'll just put that all dark, and I'll add even darker shadows where I think it's necessary. Let's see, I think most of this is going to be dark. Pretty much all of this one. It's going to be dark on this side and light on this side. Okay, and that's a pretty good start there. So now I can start putting in the darkest shadows. So this is when things are start getting really pretty. And everything starts getting nice. Get those really dark shadows in there. Actually, I think you probably need a little bit of a lighter spot up here. Okay. But I still want you to have a nice deep shadow right through here. Oh, you're supposed to be light too. I missed some spots, man. All right. So let's see, there is a petal here that I think will need a little bit of definition going out like this. There we go, that looks a bit better. And a little bit around here and through here. So this is when I start really separating things. This guy was never properly connected, which is very odd. That's okay, I can do it now. Properly connect some of those spots there. I think as long as it looks good when I'm zoomed out, it doesn't really matter too much, so I'm not gonna fixate on it too hard, but if I notice it, I'll just go ahead and fix it up. It's fine. Alright, and then the dark shadows to separate the rest of these petals. And since they're metal and pretty rigid, I don't really feel the need to add a whole bunch of little things here. This amount is fine. And there we go. I think that's about where I'll leave it. I might clean it up a little bit later, but frankly, when I zoom out, I don't think it looks that bad. I think at most it might just need a little bit more shininess in a few places. So let's do that. Maybe like right through here. I'll make a few of these just a little bit shinier. Probably through here as well. I think the light just catches a few more places. Yeah, there we go. I think that looks sufficiently shiny. I'm also debating if I like that kind of reddish shadow color. I might change it, but I think this is fine for now. Let's go ahead and add back some of the other things here. Alright. So with that, I think I can start working on the cape going over her shoulders here. I'm gonna hide the trim on it for the time being. And I'm just gonna go into the colors I have. I might add a few highlights just over here and to a lesser extent over here. But I'm gonna start with the shadows for now. Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking for a second, because I realized that with the way this part is wrapping around, I do need to know the shape of the arm before I can fully finish it, but I kind of want to get most of the cape down before I finish off the arm proper. I'm also going to hide the back of the cape for just a second here, just so I can get the part sitting on top here looking nice. And I'm going to invert the color on her shirt, so this way I know where it is. So it's going to look a little funny for a while, but that's fine. It'll make it so I can actually see what I'm doing. And that is more important than having a work in progress that does not look funny. Far more important. Work in progresses are supposed to look funny. It's their lot in life. Alright. So all I'm really... I think most of what I have drawn already looks pretty good. So I'm mostly just making sure I like roughly where my folds are and smoothing out the edges here. A lot of the time I'll smooth out the edges before I worry about anything on the inside. That's pretty normal. But in this case, for clothes, especially clothes with such strong folds like this, I kind of have to approach both at the same time. The inside and the outside, that is. Because otherwise the folds won't feel quite right. And I'll have to touch up the outside anyway. So, might as well get them together. And I'll worry a little bit about this corner down here, but I'm not going to be able to finish that off until I know where that arm is. But I'll put a little shadow through here just to make it clear that the cape is wrapping around her arm. So we're seeing a little bit of the backside here. I think this is actually the inside, so what I probably want is this blue. Because that's what I'm using for the inside of the cape here. So this is actually the back. I'll need the shadow color for that, actually. Didn't I make you, like, the same color as the flower? Let me check. Oh, man. That's not a good place to get a flower color. Let's get it from this side, where things aren't as soft. Okay, I am correct. I did indeed use that shadow color. So, that means I can just pick the shadow color from the flower, and I don't have to pull any shenanigans. So I already know I want you to be this color. There we go, and that should make it very clear where it's wrapping around her shoulders here. Okay. Now I just have this thing, and let me see, what kind of fold is that? To me, it's suggesting something kind of like this, where it's sticking out a little bit. So I'll want to put an especially big highlight on this part. Okay. And I think that's all the information I need from the inside, just for now. Okay. Yeah, there we go. I think that looks like it's going down her chest and around her shoulder there. So I'll just do the same to the other side here. And I haven't put any cast shadows from the braid or the flower yet. I think I can afford to do that just right now. Or rather, once I have everything a little more clearly defined here. I don't think I have to finish the braid before I can do that. I don't think a lot of it will be changing that much. So, should be safe. I always like to think about that very explicitly before I get too deep into shadows. Because if I think I might change something above it, in this case like the braid, and it will affect where my shadows are going to go, then there's not much point in doing it. I should finish the thing on top first. But in this case, I really don't think it's going to change that much. So I think I can just draw this, and it'll be fine. It'll be great, even. Alright, got a big old hole there. I kind of figured that there'd be a couple since the shirt is the same color as the cape here. And then on the other side, I drew that little bit that was in blue. I don't think I have to do the same thing on this side, since I already have just the cape defined here. So I just erase instead. You color that in with negative space instead of making it the color. And it should work just fine. And then I just extend this as far as I want to. And since I already know that I have another layer underneath here, I have another red part for the back of the cape. I don't even have to worry about wrapping this around the arm at all. Okay, but I do want to make sure that the arm is pushing it up a little bit. It's supposed to be resting on the arm a little. So I want to make sure I have a shape like that, where it's being pushed up a bit. There we go. And so, yeah, now I think I can lock the layer, and this is going to be an interesting little shadow here, because I have a spot that's coming up, and this spot that's coming down, all squishing together. So I think we're going to get a shape like this. Nice little interesting one. Okay, and I'm gonna plop in where I think the shadows on the flower should go. I'm gonna try to be fairly neat about it. And then on the hair, on the other hand, is resting on top of it. So it's going to be a fairly thin shadow. Because they are right next to each other. You can actually test out how this kind of thing works by getting a light and then putting your hand near the wall or something. Pull your hand away and watch how the shadow gets bigger and more diffuse. It starts, spreading out and being blurry. Whereas if you put your hand right against the wall, it's really dark. It's darker than the other shadow, and it's also more the exact shape of your hand. It's really interesting. I like just looking at random things and seeing how the light behaves with them. I think it's absolutely fascinating. Sometimes it's not what you'd expect at all. It's artist hobbies. Did I miss a spot in the flower? What are you? 'Cause I think I did. I sure did. Okay. I better fix that. It's gonna be that color, just right in there. There we go. That looks so much better. Back down to the cape. Just gonna keep plopping in these shadows here. Man, I'm happy to finally be working on her outfit. I had a particular idea for something for her, so I'm glad that it's finally time to draw it. It's like the design and stuff is all there, but it's still fun to actually smooth things out and get things into their final state. Nothing quite like seeing the finished thing, you know? Okay, so goal right now is just to make sure everything's pretty smooth. I don't think it makes sense for there to be a little bit of shadow on this side too, but I think it makes the hair stand out more, so I'm doing it anyway. As always, when it comes to stylized stuff, what looks good is more important than what makes sense. So, I can do what I want. All right. Yeah, so I think I'm almost through here. I think I will go through and add just a few little highlights where the light hits a little more directly. I don't want to overdo it though, because I still do intend to add my usual lighting at the end. So I'm gonna be keeping it pretty simple, and I also don't want the material of the cape to look very shiny. I want it to look more velvety. A little bit heavier, maybe like a wool, or you know, probably not velvet. I think that'd be too much for a cape, but something wool or cotton. I think that kind of thing would be just right for something like this. I do like thinking about materials. Sometime I'd actually like to learn a lot about the different kind of fabrics that exist. Because there's lots of different kinds. And they all do something a little different. And I think it's neat. I think it's very cool. But for now, thick cloth. That's very warm. And very soft. So, not shiny. That's what's important. And I think that looks pretty good. So, let's go find myself a nice light color for this. I think I'll just steal something from the background there and just figure out how it should go on here. That feels a little bit too shiny. That's not bad. But I think I might want something a little yellower. And again, maybe not. Okay, yeah, I'll go with this one. I think it looks alright. So now I can add some slightly stronger lights where I think the light is going to be hitting there. I'm going to plop them on like this before I go in and smooth them out like I just did with the shadows. I just want to make sure that I know where they need to go. Before I worry about things like, oh hey, are they smooth? Do they look nice? Okay, I thought I had a weird color picked for a second there, but I didn't. I'm not sure what I saw then. Oh yeah, when I'm applying shadows or highlights like this, I like to be at least relatively zoomed out. I like to see the entire object and where it is. Because otherwise it can be kind of hard to know where the lightest spots are, at least for me. And whether or not they look right. I can feel a lot better knowing they look right when I am really far zoomed out and I can see how it's all sitting. Okay, but I think something like that looks pretty good. And I'll see what else I want to do with it at, closer to the end. Earlier I mentioned that right now I'm just going to be doing only super basic shading, and once all the clothes are, more or less done, I'll be doing a proper science to determine how I want to finish them. But that's a job for the end. Right now, I just want to get things started. I'm trying to avoid making my highlights, and shadows for that matter, too pointy here. Pointy lights and shadows would imply a cloth that's a little bit thinner. So I'm keeping it a little bit blobby. Very round. Very, very round. It'll keep the cloth looking nice and thick. I think it's debatable whether or not I want to put another highlight there, but I think it's a little far from the light source. That might be something for light at the end. I think the light that I'm doing right now should be saved for the lightest parts. So I'm not gonna plop one right through there. Alright. So similarly, I think it could be debated that I want to light up here, but I think that is not one of the lightest parts, so I'm not gonna put anything there. Keep picking the wrong color. Okay. I actually think most of this should be in light here, so I'm gonna send it all the way to the hair. Making sure it follows that shadow there. It makes sense with how this one is constructed, which makes me think I should have a little bit over here too. Oops. Hit C instead of X. Happens sometimes. Okay. Unfortunately, a crop is just sitting there right next to my change foreground and background color. Okay, there we go. And I think I have pretty good shapes for all of these. I think they're looking pretty good. So there we go. That's the top part of the coat. I'm just gonna... Well, no, I want one more shadow here because I think we're seeing a little bit of the bottom. So I want to make it a little bit more three-dimensional looking. This is supposed to be a fairly thick cloth, so I will make this almost line-esque thing at the bottom here. This shadow showing that it has a bit of thickness to it. A little bit thicker than I normally would. It's thick and luxurious. So there we go, that's a bit better. Little things like that, I do think make a difference. Now, as I get closer to the bottom, we're not really going to see the bottom of things much anymore. At some point, we'll start seeing the top of them instead. But I think for this part, given as tall as Katya is, that this is very much true. There we go. Yeah, that looks pretty nice. Alright. Oh god, is it time to figure out the neck thing? Am I ready for this? Because I don't think I want to do her neck, and I want to save the back of her cape and stuff for later. I don't really want to do the trim yet. I'm going to save that for the end as well. So I will go ahead and just leave that hidden. Terrifying. Where's the lapel? Okay. Oh boy. Am I ready for this? Because yeah, I just have trouble drawing, I don't know, weird flowy things like this. And I'm scared. Maybe I'll go back to the braid before I do that. Check it out completely. No. I'll go do the lapel while I'm here. Alright. Because that won't be too bad. These kinds of things are fun to draw, in my opinion. These are not so much, but these are great. So let's go ahead and smooth this guy out finally. So I do think that there is a part that'll kind of go around the neck, and I do think we see it. I'm not going to worry about it just yet. I'm going to go ahead and get this part right. And then once I'm happy with that part, I'll worry about the part that wraps around the neck. Okay. Here we go. These kinds of things aren't too bad, and I'm not bothered by the shirt escaping containment for now. I'll fix it later. But for now, I just want to get rid of all those blurry edges. I don't like the way they look. So they must be destroyed. And replaced with nice, sharp edges. The kind that you do like to see. Okay, and I'm mostly focused on the outside here, so it's okay if the colors get a little mixed up. I'll fix them later. It's all good. I mentioned this briefly when I was doing the cape, but the way I generally work is I smooth out the outside, then I lock the layer, and then I smooth out all the shadows and stuff on the inside and make sure everything is in place and whatnot. So that's why for now, I don't mind if I mess up my colors a bit. It's all good. I'll fix them once I can lock the layer and make it all nice. Okay. Yeah, I don't have to do the neck thing right away. I can run away from my problems for a little longer. Because I can do pretty much the entire suit if I want, sans that part, and I can also do the hair if I want, and I can save that for another time. But I'm feeling more ambitious. least for me, it's easier to do the hard parts, either one, at the very start of a drawing session, or for two, when everything around it is looking really nice, and it just starts bothering me to no end. Either starts bothering me, or everything else is looking so good that I'm just like, yeah, you know what? I got this. One or the other. So let's make everything else around it look really good. And that'll encourage me to go do the parts that are hard and scary. Yeah, the best part is to do all of these parts here. I don't have to touch this at all. So, there we go. So this part here is going to be defining the outer part of the suit and the part that's overlapping the shirt. So you can see we have a little bit of shirt breaking containment over here, and then we have a little bit of the suit leading into where the shirt is. So I will have to fix those things, but I want to define this edge first. Once I know where it is, it'll be real easy to go correct everything. Real easy. It'll take like no effort at all. It'll be great. It's gonna be so easy. As long as I take the time to make sure that this all looks good. And I think before I determine whether or not this is correct or not, I want to make sure that I understand the shape of the chest here. So let's go ahead and fix all the parts breaking containment here. Plop in stuff that needs to cover shirt here. I can zoom in for that. I don't have to be that far out. It'll be fine. Okay, there we go. I think I got it all. But before I double check it, let's just fix up these couple of spots that are still a little bit blurry. Like right through here. Get it nice and smooth. And let's see, does that feel like it is wrapping around the chest? I will be able to tell regardless of the color of her shirt, so the fact that it's blue right now is totally fine. I'm used to looking at inverted colors, so it doesn't bother me. And you know what? Her face isn't really bothering me anymore either. So that's a good sign. This is the first time it's been like that in a long time, so hell yeah. Okay. I think I want this part at the bottom here to be a bit straighter, so I'm gonna bust out the liquefy. This does mean I'll have a bunch of stuff to fix, but such is life. There we go. That should wrap around a little bit better. And I kind of want to imply that this side is really far under her chest here, so I think that's correct. Let me double check it against having an actually drawn suit here. Do-do-do, arm goes up. It'll be something like that. Yeah, that looks better. And I do think I want to make the part that's going under her chest, or at least on the other side of her chest, a little bit longer. I want a little bit more of this guy showing, just a little. Like that'll make this part make a little bit more sense. Make it a little bit more clear what's going on here. This part's actually quite important, so I want to make sure that I really get it right, because it's showing how the suit is opening around her chest, and that's got to be something I put down correctly. but this seems about right. Okay. So I'll go ahead and smooth out some of these lines again. I want it to be round near the top, but a little bit straighter near the bottom here. Because this is the part. So, this part is wrapping around behind her chest, but this part at the bottom here, until it switches, is on top. So, I need to make sure that the shapes I put in show that. So it's on top, on top, on top, on top, and then behind. I think the whole thing is just in shadow. So I don't think I need to worry about any lights or anything here. I just want to make sure it doesn't look like a blob. Or have all these blobby parts coming out. I'm particular about that. Maybe more than I should be. But I am very particular about it. Okay. And then let's see. It looks like there's a part there. Do I want to keep that? No, I want it to go behind. Okay. So now I think I have this mostly defined. So the next thing I want to define is the part that goes up and around the neck. So I'm gonna hide the cape and the flower and the hair. There we go. So I don't care about any of the stuff that's behind those things, but I do want to make sure that I correctly define it going up and around the neck. So we'll have a bit going up and around here, and I will flush it with the neck after. I think the neck is already looking alright. And then on this side, I think it's a bit more like this, and comes down, and we have this guy. Let's see, the shoulders are going this way. So I think just trying to line it up with how I have the shoulders. So yeah, I think that the point is right there. And this is all that. And probably about all I need to draw. I just want to make sure I have it wrapping around correctly. So there we go. And now we have the little bit around the neck there. I think I can mostly trust it. Gonna just trim it a little. I want it to follow the cape a little more nicely. Okay, and now I just need to find my body layer, because I think that's where the neck is. Yep, and I just clear all the stuff overlapping that I don't want to overlap. Easy. Okay, it's leaving a tiny gap. Let's fill that in real quick. Just because I don't like the way it looks. There we go. Actually, why do I have that there? Is it supposed to be like this? No, that doesn't look right, so... To be fair, this doesn't look right either, so... Let's fix that up. Okay, there we go. So now I got the bit wrapping around her neck. So now it should be totally safe to lock the layer. And... just color in the rest. I should put the hair back on. There we go. Just so I know which parts I have to care about. I think that this will look excellent once I can get a slightly darker gradient at the bottom, but I don't want to do that yet. I'm just getting the basic stuff in. We're just doing basics here. So I'll have it kind of follow the shadow on her chest here, which looks like it goes around like that. And it is a shadow, even though it's lighter right now. The colors are inverted. So the lighter parts are the shadows, the darker parts are the light. And it'll look fine once I invert the colors again. I could probably do that now if I wanted. Yeah, sure, let's do it. Now that I'm done with the cape part. There we go. See? yeah, I think that's... I'll add a little bit of thickness over here, but I think that's all I need to do for that part for now. Perhaps I will do more when it comes time to do more particular and a softer shading. There we go. Stretch. Okay, so since I'm not doing the neck thing just yet, I'll save that probably for first time next time, unless I decide I want to do hair or something. But I'll probably save it for early next time. That means I'm not going to do the shirt yet, because the shirt is underneath this, and I don't want to have to redo everything, because that would suck. So I'm just going to move on to the black part of the suit here. And similarly, I will be skipping this arm for the time being, because you can see that part of her chest overlaps it, and I'd like to have this defined before I go into detail here. So I will be focusing on this part of her body for now. We'll get in the belt and all of that if I have time. I should. But right now we're gonna go in and just get all these things. I may or may not do the hand today. We'll see how I feel about it. But if I don't, I'll probably just go back to doing hair. Yeah, that should be fine. Anyway, let's get those buttons in. So, I'll be using the hair tie again for these guys. Let me go find where they are. Right there. I see them. Just so I don't have to draw it all again. I might actually steal it from up here. Because although this guy is much larger, he has the correct lighting. I might need to change up the lighting a little bit. I think I will have to change it up less if I use it from there. So we'll go down and make them tiny button sized. And this was the plan from the beginning. There we go. Delete. Please be deleted. Thank you. I really didn't want to die. Very rude. You must die for the sake of the art. It's important, okay? I want this one to be just a little bit higher. Okay. So there we go. How much shading do I have to change? A little bit. I just need a little bit, like, on these parts down here. But otherwise, I think they look great. So, that sounds good to me. Okay. I'll go ahead and light it like this. Like I said, I didn't really feel like I had to change very much at all. That's why I figured it'd be easier to copy it from there. So there we go. There's the buttons. And then I want to do something similar with the belt here. It's going to use the same pattern for this front part. So, yeah, I think I'll actually just put it on a new layer. Once I find it. Where'd I put it? There it is. Okay. So there we go. And from there, I can make it the size I want. I think I'll make it just a little bit bigger. This one needs to be a little bit straighter since it's going to be starting to sit on her hips and they are turning a slightly different direction. So there we go. Once again, gonna light the parts that I think should be lit. I might need to smooth this one out a bit more because it's looking a little bit blurry, even when I zoom out. So let's fix that. I just don't want it to be blurry. I don't like it when things look blurry. I like to have really nice, smooth edges. That is my personal taste. So this should all look just a little bit nicer after I get everything nice and smooth. Okay. Yep, I already like it a lot more, even with just the little bit that I've done. It's one of those things where I don't always know how big a difference it makes to people looking at it, but it certainly makes a difference to me, and it makes me happy, so I will go ahead and fix things up as I see fit. Okay. There we go. That's nice. I like it a lot. That is so much better, actually. Yeah, and then I think after this I will go back to the hair. So we'll go back and finish off that braid. So that I have a one less hard thing to work on next time, because it looks like I'm going to have my work cut out for me next time. Neck thing and hand. Because I think those are going to be the next big things to go after. So at least by finishing off the hair, that'll be one less difficult thing for me to look at. So I'll be kind to my future self today, and at least take that off the table. At least get that part done. So I think I have enough time to finish it off. But there we go. Did a little bit of clothes today, so I'm happy. And now we at least have all the basic accessories down. It's probably a little bit more obvious what I'm trying to do. So I'll take that. That is a victory to me. So back to the braid. Okay. So this is where I go in and I really refine the shapes and make sure I am totally happy with everything. So this is when everything gets real smooth. Okay. So I do want the part underneath here to be... Oh yeah, that's right, I didn't do this upper part. That's alright, let's do it now. Anyway, this part is on top, so I should have it going that way. Oh yeah, so this is where I get all of this into its final state. And we'll see how much time I have for proper hair science, yes. I do look forward to that. 'Cause I bet there's some neat things I can do with this. But for now, you know, first step, I gotta get it drawn. Unfortunately. Okay. Did I grab the wrong color? No, I got the right one. Oh yeah, that's right. I put in some really dark colors as science, but I didn't think I'd be able to do anything proper with them until I had more of this defined. I still think I am entirely correct, so let's define some things. Make them nice. Okay. So let's see, how do I want to do this? I think I want to get their general shapes, and then I can go back and make them strandy. Sounds good to me. Let's do it. Okay, so I'm gonna be swapping colors just all the time here. And then I want to make sure that these guys all look like they're being tucked in here. Oh yeah, and then I had that dark color there. I'll go ahead and leave it for now. And I'm going to ignore cast shadows from the flower for the time being. I will go add those at the end. I think anything else would be too complicated for my poor little brain. So I'll just do one step at a time and keep things very, very simple. Keeping it simple will yield better results in the long run. You can see I'm still adjusting the outside a little bit. I swear, every time I draw braids, I always find myself adjusting the outline just all the time. It's okay, it is what it is. As long as I get the result I want, it's all good. So there, I was just making sure that I have the light plopped in where I want it, because this is where the highlights stop, and it's thoroughly blocked by her shoulders and cape. Okay, and then I think I want a little bit more shadow on this side, but maybe not that dark. Do I have something in between? I don't think I do. I'm pretty sure I just have this, this, and this. Oh, wait, you are a little bit lighter. Okay. Nice. Okay. So that means I can have an additional shadow kind of on the side here. And let over there be just a little bit lighter. Oh, hell yeah, that's exactly what I think this needed. Certain parts of it were feeling a little bit flat to me. So now I have an additional color to play with, and I'm feeling a little bit better about things. We'll see if I need that other color I picked, the really dark one up here that's kind of covered by the flower right now. We'll see if I end up needing it. I might not, now that I have this other one. Yeah, so, you know, as always, it's just a matter of going through everything and making it all look good. So it takes a second, but I think it's worth it. I think it's pretty much always worth it. Take your time and really go through until it all feels right. But fortunately, you know, the me of what, like an hour ago, did a pretty good job already, so there's not that much more for me to do. There's just the couple of things I was a little bit unsatisfied with, like how I wanted another color here. But I think this is looking good, so just getting that additional color helped a lot. And I think it should all look pretty nice once I get all the way to the bottom here. Now I don't have to be quite so reliant on the other color that I had picked there, so I'm probably not going to need that really dark color. I did feel like it was a little bit dark for the white areas. Oh, I just unplugged my headphones. One moment here. I apologize if you hear double music. But let me fix that here. Oops, I hit the wrong button. Where am I? Yeah, we're good. I hit the wrong mute button. Anyway. Alas! So, I apologize if you heard weird sounds. I hate it when I accidentally get my headphone cord stuck on my leg or something. Or on a blanket and then I turn. Comes out. Very easy. Alright, back to drawing. Let's get comfortable and make sure that the headphone cord is not going to pull itself out again. There we go. Okay, and OBS is saying everything's okay, right? Yep, sure is. Let's go. I really do look forward to trying some things with this. Actually, you know, given it hasn't been 2 hours yet, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have time to do that today, which is awesome. So, you know, maybe we will finish this braid yet. That would be pretty great, actually. And then tomorrow I can focus on, or not tomorrow, but next week I can focus on the really hard parts. And just really dig into that. And make her neck thing look nice, and her hand. If I'm feeling real ambitious, maybe I'll just do both hands. Who knows? We'll see how I feel next week. But I'll probably take some extra care with those, because while I will have to change the colors, since the gloves on the dress side are black instead of red, I will not have to redraw them in their entirety. So I can take a little bit of extra care and make sure that they look really, really good. And then I will just be able to reuse them on the other side. I swear, the dress side is just going to be so much faster because there's just going to be so much less to draw. It's exciting. I really am looking forward to drawing that dress, though. I like it. I think it looks really nice. I wasn't sure which one I wanted to draw at first, which is why I'm doing both. But I do think I like the dress a little bit more. Just a little. So that'll be really fun to draw when the time comes. Yeah, now I'm getting down into the hand area. So we can see the hand now. And, you know, that means I'll be at the bottom before I know it. And then with the shadows and general highlights really well defined, I can go and define the shiniest highlights. I'll probably do that on its own layer. I think a lot of these won't get shiny highlights, but a lot of them will. A lot of them will. The ones on the top will get them the strongest. But I think a lot of the ones down here won't get any. Well, we'll see. This is one where I think I'm just gonna have to try a couple of patterns and see if they look good. Because it's entirely possible that I don't need very many highlights at all. And that virtually none of these should have the shiny ones. But I'm actually not quite sure, so I'm just gonna see what they look like after I finish these last few little braids here. I think that's a bit too much shadow on that side. Let's fix that. I want a little bit more over here, a little bit less over here. There we go. So for here, I actually think most of the light is going to be coming from this side. Not very much from the other side at all. Not at all. So I'm just kind of drawing it like this. And in fact, I think I messed up a few of the black spots here. I'm gonna go back and fix a few of those. As they should have little shadows running up the side as well. Yeah, I actually hadn't been very diligent about doing that. So let's go ahead and fix that, and that one doesn't need it, so... Okay, there actually weren't very many black ones, so that's nice. I didn't mess up quite as badly as I thought. So I can just keep filling in these last few. Don't want to get lazy at the end. I do get a little bit impatient sometimes. So I'm just being careful that I'm not getting lazy. And I'm giving each little part the attention that it needs in order to look its best. I think that's important. I don't want to neglect anything in my drawings. That would just be too sad. Work so hard on something and then at the last minute, you just get too eager to be finished and suddenly like certain parts look bad and so depressing. I don't want that to happen. That has happened. Okay, just making sure that I get this a black one pointing in the right direction. They should look woven. So I do need to make sure that it's facing the right direction. And here we go. I think this is the last one because this one can just stay completely in shadow. And there we go. Once again, I'm not doing the tips yet. Okay, I'm gonna go make all these look hair-like. I think their structure looks great. So I think that's all I really need there. So let's just go and make it look like hair now. That's easy. Oh yeah, that's right. I have this dark color I don't want anymore. So I can get rid of that. And actually, before I do the hair part, and oh, sneeze. That time, I hit the right mute button. Anyway, but before I go and make it all look nice and strandy and hair-like and pretty, I do want to get those cast shadows from the flower. So all I'm gonna do is make a nice line there. Make a nice line. Well, this one I think is actually gonna be hit from more this direction, so it's a little awkward, but I think the shadow's actually on this side. Whereas this one I think is more coming from over here, so its shadow's over there. I could probably make an argument to have a second one from up here, but I cannot be bothered, so I'm just gonna do it like that. And let's see, this one is gonna be like over here. Does it bleed down into here? I think it does. We see maybe just a little bit right through there. Okay, and then nothing else needs to be there, right? Okay, sweet. Let's go and make it look like hair. Make it strandy and pretty. And then I'll put in the highlights. Should have time to do all that. It's always exciting to me when the hair is about done. Always is. Being free from hair is just really, really nice. What can I say? Just takes so dang long, man. Anime girls. So much hair. So very much hair. So here I'm just kind of making sure it follows the shape of everything. Pretty straightforward stuff. Adjusting where I think I need to. And then, you know, it's all pretty simple. You just gotta take the time to actually draw it, and that's all there is to it. Once it's there, and, you know, generally it can look pretty good. And I don't think it takes very much to make hair look very good, as long as it's neat. And not just random and overly chaotic. I think it could be tempting to do that for hair. But I think it looks better when you take the time to actually make it make sense. So that's what I'm doing now. Some of it needs a little bit more attention than others. This one has a bunch of colors on it just due to its location. So I'm making sure that they are all playing together nicely. They must learn to share space. Otherwise, no one will be happy. There we go. That looks pretty good. You know, just gotta go from there. No real secrets, just blop, 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 over and over. Add some strands. It'll look good. Even then, there don't have to be, like, a lot or anything. Keep it pretty simple. And I might go back and add some loose strands. I mentioned at the beginning that I want her hair to be pretty neat. Very well put together, not messy in the slightest. So there won't be that many loose strands happening here. I think I'm gonna do the highlights before I do any loose strands, though. And I think I want to get everything smoothed and scienced. Figure out how it's going to actually look and whatnot before I do any highlights. Or not highlights, strands, loose strands. Highlights will indeed be coming before science, but the strands will not. As for how I decide to place strands, it's pretty much random. I think it looks better if I don't think very hard about it at all and just kind of let my hand go. I do still use my eyes, so if one gets drawn that I don't think looks very good, or if I feel like there has to be a little bit more, or less even, then, you know, I do pay attention to these things, but for the most part, you know, just kind of let my hand do its thing. It has good ideas. It's really smart. You'd think that it might have a mind of its own sometimes. Sometimes instinct can be better than raw thought. I mean, you gotta be careful relying on instinct. But, you know, there's a time and a place for it. And mostly I'm just, you know, like I said before, making sure that it's following the general shapes of the hair. Make sure it follows the flow, and that they don't all get too similar. Because once they start getting really similar, it stops looking like hair, and it just looks kind of terrible. I'd say of all of the parts of drawing braids, this is the most relaxing for me, because you just kind of go. I'm not even, like, actively thinking that hard at this point. I'm spending more time thinking about what I should say rather than what I should draw. Oh, the joy of talking to myself like an insane person. Okay. And all of this will be very visible once I zoom out. The difference that adding a bit of hair strand can make is huge. Bigger than you might expect, actually. I'm just always really worried about things getting too samey. You know, like I said, that's something to be avoided if it can be helped at all. Even for little braids like this. You can see that while I'm generally cutting into the shadow shapes I got here, occasionally I will put a light area into the shadows, or generally cutting into the light areas, I mean. I will sometimes put some of these lighter colors into the darker areas. I do think it helps. As long as I'm breaking up the colors. I think it works. Breaking up those colors with a little bit of hair texture. Okay. Well, let's see. Around here, I think, yeah, this kind of flow should be good. Let's cut into some of those shadows a bit. Only a bit. Go from there, see what happens. I think it'll be pretty good. Let's see, I think I want a little bit coming from the top here. I wasn't actually intending to connect them here, but I think it looks fine, so I'm gonna roll with it. Sounds good to me. Okay. So I'm at the bottom again here. So I think it's almost time. I think actually before I do highlights and science, I want to get those little strands coming out the bottom. So I think that'll be the next thing I do. I don't think they'll get highlights, but just in case I decide I want to put them on, it'd be nice to have them done. So I'll just go ahead and do that. And, you know, from there, I can just figure out the rest. It'll be so nice. Be free from hair. This hasn't been too bad, though. It never is. It's really only the early parts of drawing braids that can get a little annoying when I have to figure out just all of the outer shapes there and get it started. Getting started, at least for me, is way harder than finishing things off. Because once I have the momentum, it just goes, and, you know, there's not much trouble. But getting that initial momentum is often really, really hard for me. It is. That's why at the beginning, I go as quickly as possible into making sure that there's something I like about the picture and just getting the initial ideas down. Alright, and there we go. There's the next layer done. I think it's looking pretty alright. I think the braids I drew for the layer look better, though. Let me take a look at them and see if there's anything I can just do real quick to make them look a little better. I think it's going to come down to highlights and loose strands, though. Yeah, 100%. It's definitely highlights and loose strands. So, there we go. Those will help a lot. Let's go ahead and get these little guys down here, because this looks terrible right now. That's okay, you know, it's a kind of terrible. That's actually quite easy to fix. First, I want to make sure that this strand that's coming out there is actually inside the hair clip. That is pretty important. So I'm going to make these guys a little thinner. I like the way that this one is both black and white, so I'm going to keep that there. I'll go ahead and smooth out what I have. once again, I'm not particularly caring if I mess up the colors right now. What's important is just that I get the edges smooth. So now I can go make it look nice. And they don't all have to be going the same way. I want them to be mostly going the same way. But it actually looks a little bit better if they don't. If there's a little bit of variation. So I don't want to get too caught up on that. Okay, I want another fairly thick one that follows the flow here. I kind of like it curly. I think that's cute. That is very cute. I like it a lot. Okay, how's that? Better? Yeah, that's better. I'd say that's much better. Okay. So with that, I think I can just lock that layer. Do a quick stretch here. Oh, man. Stretch. Okay, feel much better. So, yeah, let's define which one should be black and which one should be white. We'll let this main one here be black, mostly. And I think I'll put a little bit of black into this curly guy here. We'll let this one be the one that comes out here. And that will just be black. And on the back of her hair here, is it equal parts black and white? I think it is. Roughly. Okay, so I should add a few more black strands down here. We'll make this one black. It also has the added bonus of making it a little bit more clear which one's in front and which one is behind. And I'll make this one black too. There we go. I think that is sufficient for color division. So now let's get those shadows in there. I'm just thinking about how I want to do it. Was I using this color for it? No, but I should be. So let's fix that. All of these will be using this slightly darker white here. I don't think anything should be using the more mid-tone white that I used on the main hair, because all of this should be somewhat in shadow. It's all blocked by her clothes and body. Alright, and then the dark shadows. All of this should be dark shadow through here. I'll keep the definition as I had it before, with this strand being shaded like this. I think that looks fine. And I'll just go ahead and do all the shading right away. It's really simply drawn, so I can just do it. It's all good. See how cute that little curl is? I love it. I love this little curl. It makes me very happy. Okay, and then I'll put some extra shadows on the parts that kind of go underneath. I think this guy can be all shadow. Okay, and I think that's good. So let's do the black parts now. We'll add a little strand through here. A little bit out through here. A little bit over here. And there we go. I think that does it. So now the main bulk of the hair is done. Let's add some highlights. Just defining a new group here so I can keep this all together and hide it when I'm done, or collapse it, I guess. And this way I'll have a nice place to put my signs when the time comes for it. Okay, so just... I should do this while zoomed out. Anyway, so I just have the layer, I have it clipped to the one below, and now I'm just gonna plop in highlights where I think they belong. Like I said, I don't think all of them should have highlights, but I think it'll be good for a few spots to be well lit. Maybe just the occasional little bit to make them a little bit shinier looking. They're gonna change a lot when I zoom in, so I'm not gonna spend a lot of time figuring out exactly where they go. I'll add the black ones afterward. Oh yeah, I think that looks pretty good. I do. I'm happy with that. Now I just get to do the same with over on the black ones. Keep them much smaller and more subdued there because everything is much clearer on the black areas. Or I guess I should say highlights are much more visible on these black areas. So I gotta be a little bit sparing here. Be very, very careful with them. I don't actually think I even like them down here. So if I get rid of them on the black areas, I think I should get rid of them on the white areas. I don't like any highlights down here. So, there we go. That'll be highlight. And then from there, I think it's safe for me to add my hair science back. I can figure out how all these guys should look. And much like with the hair here, since it's white, I do want it to reflect a little bit of color back. I did not do any of that. With the hair here, I did not. So I won't be doing that down here either. Not yet. I'm gonna do that near the end when I do, like, final lighting and stuff. So that'll all happen at the very, very end. Okay. Just taking a look at things here. Man, her face really does look so much better than it did at the start of the stream. And she looks, so much more calculating. I'm actually really happy with the changes. Okay. I have to stop being distracted by that. Let's, get into highlights. So I think the ones up here will be especially hard to see here. That's fine. I think this might actually be properly defined. And this one, I'll just add a couple, a little more lights. Okay. I don't trust the color there, so I'm gonna go grab it from the hair here. And, you know, like I said, I was figuring that I'd actually have to erase a lot of these. But I just wanted to make sure that I was putting them all in good spots. And I need to do that from far away before I can trust. But now that I know roughly what I'm going for, I can actually plop these in good spots. These ones can be a little bigger. And it'll look nice. Okay. You can see here, those ones ended up kind of on top of shadows, and I don't like to do that. The way I have my colors set up right now, I have my black highlight on either, you know, right now it's the foreground, and then my other highlight is going to be on the background. So I can just press X to switch between them, and it's very convenient. And I can just lazily switch between them as I get to a new area. Color in and clean. I think these ones look okay. And it's just very simple. This is why I tend... Well, one of the reasons. I think it's probably the reason I ended up getting more into very simple coloring and stuff. It's just like, I hate having to pick colors constantly. And it's just really nice when I can just press X to switch between two. Very convenient. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, so I think we have a little bit of time for science before it's time for me to head out. We got about 30 minutes here. So there we go, there's the main bulk of the braid. I think I'm gonna do science before I do strands. So I think the first thing I'd like to try. I'm just gonna go ahead, since these are a little bit more interconnected than the hair up here was. What I'm gonna do is I'm just going to set a layer to multiply, I think, and then rather than use the exact same colors, at least for this part that I'm trying, I might end up being a little bit more particular about it for some other science, but for this, I just want to see if it looks good being a little bit darker at the bottom. So I'm just gonna call this dark. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put the hair tie into this group so that this way, when I go ahead and flop down this dark purple color that I see in, or light purple color I should say, that I see in my head, and then set that to multiply, it'll also make the hair tie a little bit darker. So I just want to see if this looks good. And I can modulate this all I want. I can make one side darker, one side lighter, all that good stuff. I'm not sure if this is the right purple, but I do like the effect. So I'll try a few different colors. Okay. So let's see, do I want it to be darker or lighter? Kind of like it a little darker. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. And then I think I'm gonna add another spot for a little bit of extra light. Kind of up there. So I'll set this one to... let's do soft light. And once again, I'm just gonna lightly brush around these areas. Yeah, that looks pretty shiny. Kind of feed it back there, make it a little brighter. Okay. And then I think once I add more of my proper lighting at the end, I can make that even shinier. So that'll be great, but I'm going to leave it there for now. So, next. Let's see, what did I do for some of this? Alright, I need to hide these colors now. But I do like the effect, so I'm going to keep that. But what I think I'm going to do... oh yeah, that's right, I was doing a completely different kind of shape. Do I have any character with braids here? I don't think I do. Let's see, I think there's some characters in Path to Nowhere that have braids, so let's see. Do I have a tab open with that? I might not. Looks like I closed it. Okay. Let me find it again. Let me see if I can find an example of braids here. Because, man, there's gotta be one, right? I'll be really surprised if there are no characters in this game that have braids. Right now, I don't see any with, like, super proper braids. Mostly just some, like, loose... little bits of hair tied together. Okay, here's one. Give me just a sec to look through here. I just want an example, but I think I know what I'm gonna try. Man, is that really the only one? Okay. Guess he doesn't like drawing braids. I don't blame him. They do tend to be a little bit on the annoying side. And even this is a pretty loose braid. Okay, but it's enough to give me an idea. I'll go ahead and leave that tab open just in case I want to reference Artist Senpai here again. Okay, so first I'm gonna do something similar to what I did up here, and I'm going to take my dark color. Actually, let me see the lights there. I might actually do them differently now that I look at it. I want to take a look at your hair lights again one more time, like especially this one. You are just so subtle with it. Okay, I'm gonna trust Artist Senpai here, and I am going to both change the shape a little bit. Yeah, I'm gonna do the highlights again. But yeah, I want to change the shape a little bit, and I want to reduce the opacity on some of the lower ones. So rather than you do my usual, I'm going to slim down these ones and make them a little bit more square. Even if my intent is not to copy Senpai here. I want to see if I like this effect. I liked it on the rest of her hair, so I feel like I should carry it through to the everything else. Okay, good, and I still have my colors, so... I totally forgot about that when I started drawing this. I just went into my usual habits. But no, I do want to try these other new things, new techniques. So smaller, more square, and much more subdued. Whereas I tend to draw them pretty big. Okay, this is part of science too. Like I said, you know, trying something new. Trying something out. I'll see how it works out. I've never been one for being afraid of redrawing something that I worked hard on. It's like, if it's not working, there's no problem with redrawing it. And even if it was working, I wanted to do something different. I actually thought what I had before looked fine. But... I'm trying something new. Can't get caught up in what worked before. And you can see I'm putting them in a slightly different spot even. Didn't quite like those ones. We'll roll this up a little more nicely. There we go. Okay. And then I just have this one here. So I think what I'm going to do, rather than a proper drop in opacity, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my airbrush and I'm going to take the hair color and paint over it lightly. And that should hopefully get me the effect I want. Or I have some highlights that are just dimmer in certain spots. Okay, and then the ones up there can all be very bright, and it'll be very wonderful. Okay. So, now, the next step. Let me see, do I want to mess with this guy at all? Because I think he already looks pretty okay. Yeah, I don't think I need to do anything with the flower. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make my first science layer, and this is going to be extra dark. Actually, I should call this a dark blend. Because I'm not really making extra dark, I'm just taking this and lightly painting it over certain areas. For just a little bit of extra depth or something. Or something indeed. So I'll just do that until I'm happy. I think it all looks pretty good, so I'll keep doing it all the way through, and I'll do a before and after. So once again, I have my two colors I'm going to be switching between, depending if I'm working on a black strand or a white strand. And I'll see where this idea takes me. I'm just going to go through all of them, and then some of these I think I might even soften a little bit more. So like some of this part here, I might add a little bit of stuff there, but I'll do that on another layer a little bit later. I'm going to keep all my science separate. Once I'm a little bit... You know, if I decide to keep some of these techniques, I can do something about that a little later. And then maybe I won't need so many layers, but as long as I'm just trying things, I like to keep it all in separate layers because it makes it easy to see it before and after for one, and to just kill it completely if I decide I don't like it. So the stakes are much lower. And it makes me a little bit more willing to try things. As you know, I know I won't be messing up any of my hard work. I won't be. It'll be fine. If I don't like it, I just get rid of it. And if I do like it, then I have something nice and shiny and fantastic. And it's great. Super great. Now, I will say, if I didn't want to keep the loose strands very sparing and make the braid look very neat, I would have done the loose strands already. If they were basically part of the structure of the hair. But in this case, I'm considering them kind of extra, so I just want to do it at the end. I'm also being a lot less sparing on the extra shadows as I get further down. Because things down here should be darker. I already have something, you know, that layer I turned off, that'll help me out with that, but I want there to be more shadows as I go down. Okay. So almost there. I'm just blending it a little bit around here. And I don't quite know what to expect from a lot of what I'm trying here. That's why it's science. Trying something new. Wouldn't be science if I already knew what to expect. Then I'd just be painting. I'd just be painting normally. It's been really fun trying to figure out how to incorporate some of these techniques to make things a little bit softer, though. Get away from some of the super hard CG stuff that I've been doing lately. Okay, I think that amount should be good. So let's see, do I like it? I think if I do a light blend and all that should be good. So let's take a look. I'm not going to do the lights yet, I just want to take some of these and... It's going to be less noticeable up at the top here. Just want to make sure I get the right color. But this should let me get some of those really dark strands through there and blend them in just a little. Okay, gotta make sure I get the right color again, because I want this one for black. And there will also be a different one for white. As I go down here, so that'll be this guy, I think. Yeah, all of these should be the right color now. Kinda fade out some of the shadows in the lighter parts. Yeah, I like where this is going. I think this will look pretty cool. Oh wait, that's right, I'm not gonna have the... Okay, you know what, with what I'm going with here, I think I actually want to do the white and black separately. So, I'm gonna do that. Right now I'm doing the white. And then I'll go back and do another pass where I do the black. But this should get me some nice, really soft blends through here. Like I said, it'd be less noticeable up here where pretty much everything is light. But I think down here, as I get down further to where there's a more mix of light and dark, it'll make a big difference. So I'll just go over that until I get something I like. I have a bad color. I might. I see. Okay, I think I know what's happening. And what I think I want is I want the dark to be on top of this. Okay, that'll help. Okay, yeah, there we go. That's better. Layer order is important. Okay, so it looks like I'm probably not going to quite finish my science today. That's alright. Science is something worth taking extra time on. So I'll just focus on getting a few of these in. And I might just stop at the top here. Get some of this lighter stuff. But I like where this is going. I think that this strand looks really nice, especially compared to this one. So, yeah, I think that'll be really good. And, I mean, yeah, let's add this back. And I think that's going to look really nice once I get it all looking right. I already like where this is going. So, yeah, next time, we have to do some more hair science. And I want to do the neck thing and the hands unless I am, like, physically dying. So that'll probably be where I start, even before finishing up hair science. But I think I should probably stop there. And I'm just looking at a few other things, and I think her face is actually looking really good now. And I think I probably want to change the color on her neck. That's kind of what I'm seeing right now. Just at the end here. But yeah, so we started off clothes. And once again, I think before I do any further clothes science, I just want to have the basics down. I just want to get it all shaded. And then I can worry about making it soft and adding in extra shades and stuff. In order to, I don't know, make it look nice. Give it a little more depth. Various things that I think is maybe sometimes a little bit weak in my default style. I'm not sure. Basically, I don't know where I'm going with this, and I was just like, man, I love the art in this game. Look how great it is. Let's see if I can steal some techniques in order to bring it into my art, and, yes. Because I do like this. We'll see if I stick with it forever. I mean, I'm gonna finish this picture, yes, 100%. And we'll see how I end up bringing this kind of thing into stuff that I draw afterward, because, man, I really, really like the hair here. I do. The braid isn't there yet, but I do think that this upper part looks really nice. I'm not sure how I feel about noses. Maybe I'll draw noses. Lips, I think, work if there's going to be makeup involved, but otherwise I'm not sure. I say that even though my VTuber has lips. The art of my VTuber's old. I drew it quite a long time ago. And my reason for wanting to do this, just besides other art being pretty, was also kind of revisiting old techniques that I used to do. Some of those things are evident in my model. But I don't really do them very much anymore, and I was always afraid that I would lose something by that, but yeah. Basically, I think there's something here. I think there's something in what I've ended up doing more often lately, too. Art is weird like that. And I suppose I'll stop here for today. Yeah, I do think I definitely want to get that neck thing first thing next time, because being able to finish her whole upper body sounds fantastic. So, there we go. So thank you all for coming, and I hope you're able to make something wonderful today. I will see you all next week. So, Thursday is going to be my first programming stream. We're gonna do some Godot, and it's gonna be great. I am really looking forward to it. My husband and I have been working on this game for a while, and I'm really excited to just finally start coding it. And then, you know, the usual copy kitty in this. So I hope to see you there. Have a nice day.